The diagnostic scanner made a sound Nurse Valira had never heard in 20 cycles of service. Not an error tone. Not a malfunction alert. Something else. Something that made her primary heart skip and her secondary heart accelerate to compensate. The human child lay motionless on the medical platform, unconscious but stable. His name was Thomas. 7 years old by human standards. His left arm bore a deep laceration from the transport accident that had killed his parents and 12 others when the cargo hauler depressurized over Sector 9. Emergency crews had pulled him from the wreckage 3 hours ago. He shouldn't have survived. No unprotected human could survive explosive decompression at that altitude. Yet here he was. Breathing. Alive. The wound itself wasn't the problem. Valira had sealed worse injuries. The problem was what her scanner detected inside it. She ran the diagnostic again. The result remained unchanged. Her anterior tendrils trembled as she processed the impossibility before her. The substance coating the damaged tissue wasn't human. Wasn't biological at all in any conventional sense. The molecular signature matched nothing in the medical database. Nothing in any database across 17 allied species. Senior physician. She called through the intercom, keeping her voice steady despite the growing pressure in her respiratory chambers. I need you in Trauma Base 7 immediately. No response. She tried again. Senior Physician Corthas, this is urgent. I have an anomaly that requires immediate analysis. Static. Then, a tired voice. I'm in surgery, Valira. Handle it yourself or wait. She couldn't wait. Protocol demanded she report unknown substances immediately, especially those found in diplomatic refugees. The child was a Federation citizen. His presence on the medical station placed him under the direct protection of the Planetary Alliance. Any anomaly in his treatment could trigger an interstellar incident. Valira magnified the scanner image. The substance appeared crystalline at the molecular level, but it moved. Flowed. Reformed itself around cellular structures like it was repairing them from the inside out. She'd seen regenerative compounds before. She'd seen synthetic tissue scaffolds and bioengineered healing accelerants. This was something different. Something that shouldn't exist. The substance was pulling the wound closed. She watched as torn muscle fibers realigned themselves. As severed blood vessels reconnected with microscopic precision. The child's body wasn't healing. The substance was rebuilding it. Her communicator chimed. A priority alert. The display showed a single line of text that made her blood temperature drop. Royal transport incoming. ETA 4 minutes. Prepare for immediate inspection. Valira's posterior tendrils locked rigid. Royal inspection. Here. Now. The Empress never visited medical stations unannounced. Never visited them at all. She had physicians at the palace, entire wings dedicated to royal healthcare. For her to come here meant she knew something. Had detected something that threatened the stability of her reign, or the safety of her people. Valira looked at the unconscious child. At the impossible substance in his wound. At the scanner displaying data that couldn't exist. 4 minutes. She initiated the station-wide alert. Within seconds, medical staff throughout the facility began emergency sterilization procedures. Equipment was secured. Non-essential personnel cleared from primary corridors. The station's chief administrator would be coordinating with royal security to ensure proper protocols were observed. But Valira couldn't stop staring at the scanner. The substance had nearly closed the wound completely now. In another minute, there would be nothing left but a thin scar. No evidence of the severity of the original injury. No trace of what had saved the child's life when explosive decompression should have killed him instantly. She made a decision that violated every regulation in the medical handbook. She diverted the scanner data to a secure private file and wiped the main diagnostic record. If the Empress was coming here because of what was inside this child, Valira needed to understand it first. Needed to protect him from whatever consequences might follow. The station's main airlock cycled. Early. The royal transport had arrived ahead of schedule. Valira activated the medical bay's security seal and lowered the privacy screens. She had perhaps 90 seconds before royal guards reached this section. 90 seconds to decide what she would say. What she would reveal. Whether she would risk everything to protect a human child she'd met 3 hours ago. The wound sealed completely. The substance vanished into the child's bloodstream, dispersing so rapidly her scanner could barely track it. One moment it was there, visible and impossible. The next moment, nothing. As if it had never existed at all. Footsteps in the corridor. Multiple sets. Heavy. Synchronized. Royal Guard. Moving with the precise rhythm of soldiers trained to kill anything that threatened the Empress. Thomas stirred. His eyes opened. Human eyes, brown and confused, focusing slowly on Valira's face. His lips moved. He tried to speak. "Water," he whispered. Valira's communicator chimed again. The message was brief and absolute. "Medical Bay 7. The Empress requires immediate access. Unseal the door." The child sat up, clutching his newly healed arm. His fingers traced the thin scar where moments ago there had been torn flesh and shattered bone. He looked at Valira with an expression she couldn't read. Fear, maybe? Or recognition. As if he knew exactly why the most powerful being in the sector had just arrived to see him. "Please," Thomas said quietly. "Don't let them take me." The door chimed. Someone outside was overriding her security seal. In 5 seconds the royal guard would enter. In 10 seconds the Empress herself would see the human child who had survived the impossible. Valira stepped between Thomas and the door. She didn't know why. Didn't understand what instinct made her place herself between a 7-year-old refugee and the most powerful military force in known space. She only knew that something in the child's eyes reminded her why she'd become a nurse. Why she'd sworn an oath to protect the vulnerable, regardless of species or circumstance. The seal disengaged. The door opened. And Nurse Valira prepared to face the consequences of her choice. The royal guards entered first. 6 of them. Tall. Armored in ceremonial black plate that concealed weapon systems capable of leveling a building. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that displayed only the royal crest. They moved with fluid precision, scanning the medical bay, assessing threats, securing position. Behind them came the Empress. Valira had seen her face on broadcasts. On official portraits in government buildings. But nothing prepared her for the physical presence of the woman who had united 17 fractious species into a functional alliance. The Empress moved like gravity itself had made an exception for her. Like the universe acknowledged her authority, and bent accordingly. She wore no crown. No jewelry. Just a simple black uniform that marked her as supreme commander of forces that could glass planets. Her skin was pale blue, like all their species, but her eyes were different. Darker. Ancient in a way that transcended her physical age. Those eyes fixed on Valira. Then moved past her to the child sitting on the medical platform. The Empress stopped walking. Her expression didn't change. She simply stood motionless, studying Thomas with an intensity that made the temperature in the room feel like it had dropped 10 degrees. Nobody spoke. The guards held position. Valira barely dared breathe. Finally, the Empress's gaze shifted back to Valira. "Your name?" "Valira. Medical technician 3rd class." Her voice came out steady despite the terror flooding her system. "You've been treating this child?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "What did you find?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Valira understood immediately that lying was not an option. The Empress already knew. Somehow, she'd detected the anomaly from orbit or through intelligence networks Valira couldn't begin to comprehend. This wasn't an inspection. It was a confirmation. "I found something in his wound," Valira said carefully. "Something I couldn't identify. It appeared to facilitate rapid healing beyond normal human capability." "Where is it now?" "Gone. It dispersed into his bloodstream approximately 2 minutes ago." The Empress's expression flickered. Just for a moment. Something crossed her features that might have been surprise or concern or both. She turned to her guards. Seal this bay. No one enters without my direct authorization. That includes medical staff and station administration. The guards moved immediately, activating security protocols that transformed the medical bay into a vault. Energy barriers materialized across the doorway. Electronic countermeasures disabled all communication except the Empress's personal network. They were alone now, isolated from the rest of the station. Whatever happened next, no one would witness it except those in this room. The Empress approached the medical platform. Thomas watched her come, his small body tense but his face surprisingly calm. He didn't look afraid. He looked resigned. Like he'd been expecting this moment. Thomas, the Empress said quietly. Her voice had changed. Become softer. Almost gentle. That's your name? The boy nodded. Do you know why I'm here? Another nod. Can you show me? Thomas extended his arm. The thin scar glowed faintly, pulsing with light that definitely wasn't human biology. The Empress leaned closer, examining the mark with the focused attention of someone who understood exactly what she was seeing. How long? She asked. Thomas's voice was small but steady. Since I was born. My mom said I was special. That I had to keep it secret or bad people would try to take me away. Your mother was wise. The Empress straightened, her expression unreadable. But she couldn't have known how special. How impossible. Valira found her voice. Your Majesty, I don't understand. What is he? The Empress turned. Her eyes held something Valira had never seen in any footage or broadcast. Fear. Real, genuine fear from a woman who commanded billions. He's the end of everything we know, the Empress said quietly. Or the beginning of something we can't imagine. I haven't decided which yet. She moved to the medical bay's main console and activated a secure channel. A holographic display materialized, showing stellar charts, encrypted files, classified research from laboratories Valira had never heard of. 30 cycles ago, the Empress began. Our deep space sensors detected an anomaly in the void between galaxies. A transmission. Not electromagnetic. Not quantum. Something else. Something that traveled faster than light, faster than thought, carrying information that shouldn't exist. She pulled up an image. A pattern of crystalline structures that made Valira's heart stop. The same structure she'd seen in Thomas's wound. We've been searching for the source ever since, the Empress continued. Exploring abandoned systems. Investigating archaeological sites on dead worlds. Looking for any evidence of the civilization that sent that transmission. A civilization that existed before ours. Before any of ours. Thomas spoke up. The architects. The room went silent. The Empress stared at the child. What did you say? The architects. That's what they called themselves. The ones who made this. He touched his arm. They made lots of things. Left them in different places. Seeds, my mom called them. Seeds waiting to grow. How do you know this? Thomas met the Empress's gaze with unsettling directness. Because they talk to me. In my dreams. They show me things. Cities that float in space. Ships that travel between dimensions. Weapons that can unmake stars. His voice dropped to a whisper. And the thing that's coming. The thing they were running from. Valira felt her respiratory system seize. The child spoke with calm certainty about concepts that should be beyond his comprehension. About knowledge that could only come from direct contact with something ancient and powerful. The Empress knelt, bringing herself to Thomas's eye level. When is it coming? Soon. Maybe a cycle. Maybe less. The architects left the seeds as warnings. As weapons. As a way for younger species to defend themselves. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. But I'm just one seed. One weapon. They needed thousands. They needed time. And we don't have enough of either. The Empress stood slowly. She looked at Valira, then, at her guards, then back at Thomas. Her expression had transformed from fear to something else. Determination. Decision. The look of someone who just accepted an impossible burden. "You said the substance in his wound dispersed into his bloodstream," she said to Valira. "Can you track it?" "Possibly. With advanced scanners and time for analysis." "You have neither." "I need answers in the next hour." The Empress activated her communicator. "This is Sovereign Command. Initiate Protocol Black Dawn. Authorization Code Imperial Omega 7. Mobilize all research vessels in Sectors 4 through 12. I want every deep space sensor array focused on the void coordinates. And wake the Council. All of them. We have a situation that requires immediate intervention." Responses flooded the channel. Confirmations. Questions. Confusion. The Empress cut them all off. 1 hour, she repeated. "I want our best xenobiologists, theoretical physicists, and military strategists on this station before then. And someone find me every human medical record we have. I need to know if there are others like him." She turned back to Thomas. "You're going to tell me everything. Everything the architects showed you. Every dream, every vision, every detail about what's coming and how we stop it. Do you understand?" Thomas nodded. Then, he said something that made Valira's blood run cold. "There's one more thing. The seeds don't work unless they're activated. The architects designed them that way. Safety measure. So they couldn't be stolen or misused." He touched his healed arm again. "The crash activated mine. The injury. The near-death experience. It woke up the seed inside me." "Waking up," the Empress said slowly. "What happens when a seed fully awakens?" Thomas looked up at her. His eyes glowed faintly, the same crystalline light from his scar. "I'd become what the architects needed. What they built us to be." His voice changed, deepened, echoing with harmonics that weren't human. "I'd become the weapon." The guards shifted. Weapons charged. The Empress raised one hand, and they froze. "Stand down," she commanded. Then to Thomas, "Can you control it?" "I don't know. I'm 7. I can barely control my homework." The comment was so absurdly normal that Valira almost laughed. Almost. But the situation was too dire. Too impossible. A child carrying ancient alien technology in his cells. A mysterious threat approaching from the void. The most powerful woman in the sector taking personal command of a crisis no one had seen coming. The Empress's communicator chimed. She listened briefly, then looked at Valira. "My research team is 10 minutes out. I need you to prepare a full diagnostic suite. Blood work. Tissue samples. Neural scans. Everything you have. If we're going to understand what he is and what he can do, we need data." Valira moved immediately, gathering equipment, preparing sampling kits, configuring the diagnostic array for comprehensive analysis. Her training took over, pushing aside fear and confusion. She was a nurse. She had a patient. Everything else was secondary. Thomas watched her work. "Will it hurt?" "No," Valira said gently. "Just some minor discomfort. You've been very brave. Can you be brave a little longer? My mom always said being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going even when you are scared." Fresh tears tracked down his face. "I'm really scared." Valira stopped working. She moved to the platform and took the child's hand in her tendrils. "So am I. But we're going to figure this out together. The Empress is the smartest person I know. If anyone can solve this, she can." The Empress approached from the other side. She didn't touch Thomas, but her presence was oddly comforting despite her fearsome reputation. "Your mother was right. And she would be proud of how brave you're being now. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to understand what's happening to you. And then we're going to use that knowledge to protect everyone. Can you trust me to do that?" Thomas studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay. But I want Nurse Valira to stay with me. Done. The Empress glanced at Valira. You're now assigned to this case exclusively. Consider yourself temporarily deputized into royal service. Whatever you see, whatever you learn, is classified at the highest level. Understood? Yes, Your Majesty. The medical bay door chimed. The guards verified credentials, then allowed entry to a group of scientists wearing emergency research insignia. They carried equipment Valira had only seen in theoretical journals. Quantum scanners. Dimensional analyzers. Technology designed to study phenomena that existed at the edge of physical law. The lead scientist approached the Empress. Majesty, we came as quickly as possible. What are we dealing with? The Empress gestured to Thomas. Something that shouldn't exist. Something that might save us all or destroy everything we've built. You have 45 minutes to tell me which. The scientists moved like a precision team, establishing their equipment around the medical platform, running preliminary scans, exchanging information in rapid technical shorthand. Valira assisted where she could, providing medical context, explaining what she'd observed in the initial diagnosis. One scientist, a quantum physicist named Drell, suddenly gasped. Majesty, these readings. The energy signature. It's not stable. It's building. Exponentially. The Empress moved to his console. Explain. The substance in his bloodstream. It's not dispersing. It's multiplying. Replicating itself using his body's own cellular energy. At current rates, within 6 hours his entire system will be saturated with this material. What happens then? Drell looked at Thomas with undisguised awe. He either dies from total systemic failure, or he transforms into something we can't predict. Something the architects designed but never fully documented. The Empress's jaw tightened. Can we slow it down? Unknown. We're dealing with technology millions of years beyond our understanding. We need to decode the programming at a molecular level, and we don't even know what language it's written in. Thomas spoke up again, his voice strained. It's not a language. It's mathematics. Universal constants. Patterns that work the same everywhere. He clutched his arm. And it's starting to hurt. Valira checked his vital signs. His heart rate was climbing. Temperature rising. The substance was spreading, and his body was reacting to the transformation. She administered a mild sedative, but she knew it was temporary. They needed solutions, not palliatives. The Empress made another decision. Contact the Human Diplomatic Corps. I want every medical database they have. Every genetic study. Every record of unusual births or unexplained healing. If there are other seeds among the human population, I need to know immediately. A communications officer nodded and began transmitting the request. Valira wondered how humanity would react to learning that one of their children carried alien technology. Would they see him as a threat? A weapon to be controlled? Or would they understand that Thomas was as much a victim of circumstance as anyone? Majesty. Another scientist called out. We're detecting a quantum entanglement signal. It's originating from the child but reaching out across interstellar distances. He's connected to something. Or someone. Can you trace it? Attempting to. But the signal is bouncing through dimensions we can barely perceive. It's like trying to trace a shadow through a hall of mirrors. Thomas's body jerked. His eyes rolled back. The glow from his arm intensified, spreading up his shoulder, across his chest. He was convulsing now, the transformation accelerating beyond their projections. We're losing him. Valira shouted. She grabbed emergency stabilization equipment, trying to regulate his vital functions, but the transformation was overwhelming his system faster than she could compensate. The Empress moved with startling speed. She placed her hands on Thomas's chest, and Valira felt a surge of energy pulse through the room. The Empress herself carried enhancements. Military-grade neural implants. Command authorization systems. Technology that let her interface directly with the most advanced systems in the sector. She was using those systems now, trying to establish a connection with the substance in Thomas's body. Trying to communicate with it on its own terms. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Thomas's convulsions stopped. His breathing stabilized. The glow receded slightly. The Empress gasped. Her eyes went wide. I see it. The architect's message. It's not just code. It's a warning and a guide. They knew this would happen. Knew the seeds would activate, and the carriers would need help. What do we do? Valira asked desperately. The transformation can't be stopped. But it can be guided. Controlled. If we give him a purpose. A target for the weapon to focus on. The Empress looked at her assembled team. Show him the threat. Show him what's coming from the void. Let the architect's programming recognize the danger and complete the transformation properly. Drell hesitated. Majesty, exposing a child to those images could cause severe psychological trauma. He's not going to be a child for much longer. Not in any sense we understand. The architects made their seeds from volunteers. Adults who understood the sacrifice. Thomas doesn't have that choice, but we can give him purpose. Direction. The Empress's voice softened. Thomas, can you hear me? The boy nodded weakly. I'm going to show you something. Something terrible. But I need you to be strong. Can you do that? I'll try. The Empress activated the holographic display again. This time, she pulled up deep space sensor data from the void region. At first, Valira saw nothing but empty space. Then, the sensors detected something. A distortion? A ripple in reality itself, moving toward their galaxy at speeds that shouldn't be possible. As the image resolved, Valira understood why the architects had fled. Why they'd scattered their seeds across the cosmos as desperate measures. The thing approaching wasn't a ship or a fleet. It was a phenomenon. A living void. A tear in existence that consumed everything it touched. Stars vanished into it. Entire solar systems disappeared. And it was growing. Accelerating. Feeding on the matter it destroyed. Thomas stared at the image. His expression shifted from fear to understanding to determination. That's what they were running from. The consuming dark. The thing that ended their civilization. The thing that ends all civilizations eventually if they're not ready. His body began to glow again, but this time it was controlled. Purposeful. The substance in his bloodstream responded to the threat, activating protocols the architects had embedded eons ago. His cells restructured. His neural pathways expanded. His very molecular composition began to shift into something new. Something that could fight back against the impossible. The transformation took 3 hours. Valira monitored every second of it, documenting changes that rewrote everything she knew about biology. Thomas's body didn't just heal. It evolved. Adapted. Incorporated the architect's technology until the line between boy and weapon became meaningless. When it was done, Thomas opened his eyes. They glowed with crystalline light. His skin carried faint patterns of the same material. He looked older somehow. Not physically. But in his bearing. His presence. The architect's knowledge flooded his mind, giving him understanding far beyond his years. How many? The Empress asked. Thomas understood immediately. 417. That's how many seeds the architects scattered. They embedded them in species across 7 galaxies. Random distribution. Maximum survival probability. But activation was always random too. Dependent on near-death experiences. Most seeds never wake up. Most carriers live normal lives and die without ever knowing what they carried. But you know where they are now? I can feel them. The ones who've awakened. 7 so far. Scattered across Alliance space. We need to find them. Bring them together. One seed weapon isn't enough to stop the consuming dark. But 400? Working in concert? We might have a chance. The Empress turned to her staff. Make it happen. Every resource we have goes toward locating and retrieving awakened seeds. I want diplomatic channels opened with every allied and non-allied species. If they have carriers, they need to know. One of the guards spoke up. Majesty, this information could cause galaxy-wide panic. So could the alternative. The consuming dark will reach our outer colonies in approximately one cycle. We don't have time for careful diplomacy. We need every possible advantage, and that means finding every awakened seed before it's too late. Thomas stood. He moved differently now. With confidence and purpose that seemed strange in a 7-year-old body. I can help. The architects gave me access to their detection network. If there are awakened seeds, I can triangulate their locations within hours. Then get started. The Empress looked at Valira. Stay with him. He'll need someone he trusts. Someone who reminds him he's still human despite what he's become. Valira nodded. She approached Thomas carefully, uncertain how to interact with something that was both child and ancient weapon. But when she took his hand, he squeezed it gently. The gesture was purely human. Purely Thomas. Whatever he'd become, part of him was still the scared boy who'd survived the impossible. Over the following days, Thomas's predictions proved accurate. 7 awakened seeds were located and brought to the station. Each transformation was unique, reflecting the individual's biology and circumstance. A Korathi engineer whose seed activated during a reactor meltdown. A Delphine merchant who nearly drowned in a shipping accident. A human soldier wounded in combat on the frontier. Each carried the same impossible technology. Each had become a weapon against the coming darkness. The Empress gathered them in a secure facility designed to withstand antimatter detonations. 8 awakened seeds, including Thomas. 8 impossible beings who shouldn't exist, preparing to face a threat that had destroyed countless civilizations. This is insufficient, the Empress said bluntly. 8 against the consuming dark. 8 against a phenomenon that consumed the architects at the height of their power. I need realistic assessments. Can you win? Thomas spoke for the group. No. Not directly. But the architects didn't design us to win. They designed us to buy time. To slow the consuming dark enough for younger species to evolve. To develop technology that could eventually seal the breach or destroy it permanently. We're not the solution. We're the delay. How much time? Unknown. Depends on how effectively we can disrupt its progression. Years, maybe. Decades if we're lucky. But eventually we'll fall. Just like the architects did. The Empress absorbed this information with the stoic calm of someone who'd made impossible decisions before. Then we use that time well. Every research facility. Every theoretical physicist. Every resource goes toward finding a permanent solution. You buy us time. We'll make it count. She looked at Valira. And you? You found the first seed. Took the first risk to protect him. That makes you part of this now. I'm assigning you as medical liaison to the seed program. Your job is to keep them healthy and remind them they're not just weapons. They're people. Can you do that? Valira thought about Thomas. About the child who'd asked her not to let them take him. About the impossible burden he now carried. Yes, Your Majesty. I can do that. The Empress nodded. Then it settled. We have our defense. Now we need our offense. The search for a permanent solution begins immediately. She left the chamber, taking her guards and staff with her. The awakened seeds remained, looking at each other with the uncertain familiarity of soldiers drafted into a war none of them chose. Thomas approached Valira. Despite his transformation, despite the ancient knowledge in his eyes, he still looked small. Still looked like a child who'd lost everything. Nurse Valira? I'm scared again. Is that okay? She knelt, bringing herself to his level. It's more than okay. It means you're still you. Still Thomas. Whatever else you've become, don't forget that. I'll try. But sometimes I feel the architects in my head. Their memories. Their experiences. It's hard to know where they end and I begin. Then I'll help you remember. Every day. However long we have. You're Thomas. 7 years old. You like. She realized she didn't know anything about his interests. Didn't know what he liked or dreamed about before the crash changed everything. I like dinosaurs, Thomas said quietly. And building things with blocks. And my mom used to read me stories about knights and dragons. His voice cracked. I want to go home. Valira pulled him into an embrace, her tendrils wrapping gently around his small frame. I know. I know you do. But right now, you're the bravest knight I've ever met. And when this is over, when we've bought enough time for the Empress to find her solution, you're going to go back to being a kid. To building with blocks and reading stories. I promise. It was a promise she had no authority to make. A promise that might be impossible to keep. But Thomas needed hope more than he needed honesty. Needed something to fight for beyond abstract concepts of survival. The other awakened seeds gathered around them. The Korathi engineer placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. The human soldier nodded with understanding. They were a unit now. Bound by impossible circumstances. Destined to face something that had destroyed their creators. But they would face it together. And they would give the galaxy the time it needed to find answers. Above them, beyond the station walls, the consuming dark continued its inexorable approach. Growing. Accelerating. Consuming everything in its path. The countdown had begun. And in a medical bay where none of this should have been possible, a nurse held a child who had become a weapon, while an empress mobilized an entire civilization, and ancient protocols awakened across the galaxy. Humanity had always been good at finding ways to survive the impossible. Now they would have to prove it on a scale they'd never imagined. The war for existence had begun with a single wound. A single impossible discovery. And it would end with either salvation or extinction. The universe held its breath. And waited.